It has to be this way because it's cooler. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Just another struggling writer. The Beleaguered Authors one-stop shop for commiseration and hopefully inspiration. My name is Carrie Scher, and I am just another struggling writer. Well, today is the start of another writing vlog, but not just any writing vlog. Today is a writing vlog in which I am pinning a lot of hopes and dreams upon. If you haven't watched my 5-year plan video, I highly recommend checking that out. It was in that video that I kind of laid out the first of many steps I hope to take in order to accomplish my 5-year goal of becoming a full-time writer and content creator. And one of those first steps, one of the blocks of the foundation that I hope to build my career on, is discipline and consistency, starting with A, writing in the same space as often as possible, and B, setting aside dedicated time to write. And that's what we are here to do. I am here at my writing desk. I'm here just before 9 o'clock, and I'm just about to get started on some descending ladder sprints. I got the idea of the ladder sprints from Alyssa. I am tweaking them to fit my own personal writing schedule where I do most of my writing late at night. I would be remiss if I did not say that I'm a little bit nervous about what I'm about to undertake. I've had quite a long day. I've had homework I've had to turn in. I put up my Christmas tree. I've cleaned up my room. It's been a lot. But even though it is Sunday and I do like to start these vlogs on Mondays, I cannot slack off because astute viewers may notice that it is actually the week of Thanksgiving this week. And more than that, I am now 4 weeks away, just 4, from the end of my Finish Your Book Fall Challenge, at the end of which I was really hoping to have my entire second draft of Seekers of Empyrean completely done. Seekers of Empyrean, by the way, since I haven't mentioned it yet, is my Monster of the Week inspired urban fantasy about a young woman with a rare magical ability who is recruited by a secret government agency to hunt down and stop a growing threat to the magical community. I am just about 50,000 words into the projected 120,000 word second draft. And again, my goal was to have this whole second draft finished by the end of fall, the official end of fall on December 21st. Some unfortunate life and mental health issues have precluded me from actually writing consistently during the fall, but I am back at it and I am really going to hit this draft hard over the next 4 weeks with the hopes of actually succeeding in this challenge, as crazy as it might sound. Which is why these ladder sprints and why sitting at my desk and why starting these habits now are so important. So according to Dabble, I am needing 2,300 words between now and December 21st in order to meet my deadline. That's a lot. I'm not denying that that's a lot, but there is cause for some hope. And that is, while yes, this week is the week of a holiday, I do not have the kids this week. They are spending this holiday with their dad. And while I am really bummed to be missing them for the holiday, their absence in the house does provide me with a little bit more room to concentrate. So I've got some plans. I've got some plans to hit the coffee shop and do multiple writing sessions and try and get out ahead a little bit of this big writing goal. So it just ticked over 9 o'clock. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on these ladder sprints. The first one being 48 minutes. So this one is going to be where I hope to get the majority of my writing done tonight. So I'm gonna get a drink, I'm gonna turn on some ambient music, and I'm gonna try and finally prove that I can be a full-time writer.
I can be stubborn, thinking I'm right. I can be late, cause I'm taking my time. I can be driven, ambitious, your best friend, love of your life. I can be selfish, trying to be kinder, always forgetting, needing reminders. But I'll always be there when you need me.
Welcome back to my desk. It is now 2.5 hours later, and my first impressions of these ladder sprints is that, man, they are an ass kicking. My butt hurts from sitting here for 2.5 hours. I'm gonna have to put my heating pad on this chair if I'm going to be doing this every night, or I'm just going to need a new chair. That might also be a good idea. But apart from that, they were also really, really successful. And I know that it helps that I've been kind of mulling over how I'm going to attack this scene for like a week now, but I needed 2,379 words for the day to stay on pace in order to meet the deadline. I got 2,432, so just about 50 words over that number in 2.5 hours, which is pretty good. Let's see, if I was writing for 2 hours, yeah, that's way over my normal pace of about 500 words an hour. Like more like 750 words, I would say, an hour. But still, like that's way more than that. Really quickly, I'm just going to break down my stats for the sprints. I'm trying a new Notion template that helps keep track of it. I'm probably not going to use this long term. I've got a spreadsheet instead that I think I'm going to use because I can't figure out how to make it a Notion thing instead. I am not very good with Notion, not at all. So I think I'm just going to use the spreadsheet I found online that helps track words and all that. But anyway, so the first session of 48 minutes, I got 1,101 words, 1,101. So that's pretty good. That's, again, way more than the like 750-ish I can get in an hour. The 36-minute sprint, I did 630. So quite a bit of drop off there, but it was during that sprint that I realized the choreography of the scene wasn't quite working, and I had to quickly adapt my plan. I think I made it work in the end in such a way that I'm pretty happy with, but that session, I didn't really start plugging away again for like another like 10 minutes into the sprint. Then the 24-minute sprint, I got 464, and the 12, 237. So crazily enough, almost exactly half. And for a total of 2,432 words in 2 hours, plus the half hour for breaks. So pretty good. The fact that I have to do this every single day for the next 4 weeks scares me a little, but you got to do what you got to do. Like I said, I am hoping to bank a lot of extra words this week. Just really quickly though, something else that I realized during the scene, it was during that 24-minute sprint that I realized this scene right here, it may be a little clunky and a little bit confused in the moment because I had to kind of readapt in the middle of it. And it is the first draft. This isn't like a second draft. This is a brand new words and a brand new scene that didn't exist in draft 1. But this is the kind of stuff that I really need to be leaning into. I'm using a new kind of magic that hasn't been seen before so far in this story from my main character's perspective. And so it's like kind of new from what we've seen so far. And it's kind of exciting and really shows the limitations and the capabilities of magic. And I just think it's cool. It's really cool. It got me thinking that in draft 3, I really need to strip out a lot of the bureaucracy of the secret government agency, because while it might be realistic that there will be a lot of bureaucracy, it doesn't necessarily make it interesting. And that has been something I've really been struggling with, is how much do I show and how many questions are readers going to have about how this secret government agency functions. And I'm thinking about all of those things and I want to show you all of those things, but like it really truly is just not very interesting. It's just, yeah, she goes into an orientation class and, you know, she reads some instructional material about the magic world, but that's not interesting. What's interesting is her being on site and in the moment and seeing it for herself. And so while it might not be very realistic for her to jump straight into this, it has to be this way because it's cooler. You know, the rule of cool. That was kind of an interesting thing to think about. Like, okay, I already knew that was the case, that I was just going to have to really limit what would make sense. Anyway, all this stuff and just need to get straight into the meat of things because this is just way more fun and interesting. Anyway, I really wanted to finish the scene, but I think I probably have like another 500 words. And I think that if I leave it for tomorrow, that'll give me a good jumping off point for tomorrow. I did get started a little bit late, so it is close to midnight now. So I am going to call it here. Like I said, this has been wildly successful, but also like kind of exhausting. I am not really looking forward to seeing how a sprint like this goes after a long day of work. But like I said, you got to do what you got to do. Oh, and I forgot to mention, currently I am at 53,441 words, and Dabble is telling me that is 45% through my projected word count total. So I got about 500 words left in this scene, and then I've got one more chapter. Probably not a super long one, but although who knows at this point. But even if it is like 3,000 words, the chapter after that is the midpoint. And so I am in really good shape to be on exactly 60,000 words for the midpoint, which is good because that means I'm not going to go over the 120,000. If you recall from draft 1, I was aiming for 90 and hit 105. And so my fear is that I was going to have another 10 or 12% growth in draft 2. It's looking like I'm probably going to be right on track, maybe even a little bit under. So that's really, really good. I am going to try and get back down to 100K for draft 3, but for now, I'll settle for not going over 120. All right, that is it. I'm going to go wash my face and brush my teeth and get my happy ass in bed. But this has been interesting. I'm really glad that I did it, and we'll see how it holds up tomorrow. Hello, good morning. It is now Monday morning. And excuse the shitty weather and the shitty lighting, but I have things to say to you. And if you're wondering, Carrie, you just updated us barely 8 hours ago. What more could you possibly have to tell us? Weren't you asleep? Yes, I was, for the most part, apart from the storm. After I laid down last night, I realized something kind of important, and that the original scene that was going to be my midpoint is redundant. I think I mentioned this in the last vlog, that part of this Act 2 midpoint shakeup, my main character Araceli makes this connection in this case that she's working with the secret government agency, to this big reveal that she learned right at the beginning of Act 2 or right at the end of Act 1. She makes this connection while she's on this site of this recent disaster that this antagonist has caused. And she goes back to the headquarters and she's like, hey guys, check this out. This is important. See this connection here. And it's a personal connection. My thought originally was the team shuts her down, and then she goes to the big boss who recruited her and tries the same thing. Like, hey, I think this is a big deal. No one is listening to me. And the big boss kind of tells her the same thing. And it's redundant. It's just redundant. The scene with the boss was the original midpoint. It had different context originally in draft 1, but I'm thinking it's redundant. She doesn't need to go to the big boss and be like, and try and convince the big boss to listen to her. The big boss isn't going to give a shit. The big boss wants her to do her job and not worry about this personal thing. All of that to say, I think I'm just going to completely cut that scene. Completely. And make this next scene, this next chapter that I'm about to write, after I finish the one from last night, the midpoint. So I will definitely be under 60K. Definitely be under 60K, which is good. And I think it just streamlines everything a little bit more, and it just makes it a little bit more sense. Like, would Araceli really have a direct line to the big boss after she's been on the case for 1 week, kind of thing? I mean, yes, they need her. Anyway, so that was my connection. I am gonna cut another scene. I have cut so much material from the original, well, no, not the original, but the draft 2 outline, which is all good. It's all been a good thing. I mean, if I had left everything in, I'd probably, like, the first half of the book would probably be 80,000 words at this point. Anyway, it's just been interesting. It's been interesting to learn how this story has developed and adapted as it's being written. That's it. I just want to let you know that I might be writing the midpoint tonight, which is crazy. But I'm excited. I'm excited that I'm cutting words. I'm excited to be making progress. So I'm going to go inside. I know most people love these days, but they give me headaches and I don't like thunder. So these days are actually kind of miserable for me. And it's month end this week. No, I'm not procrastinating. Why do you ask? Hello. It is now Monday evening, and I am just now sitting down to get started on my ladder sprints for the evening. I am once again a little bit behind schedule because I'm a little bit sick. My stomach is a little bit upset, but we persevere. But I did also want to just stop and check in before I got started because I have been having some thinky thoughts since we last spoke, and not all of them positive. So this morning we talked a little bit about how there was some redundancy in the next couple of scenes, and that one of them I felt pretty comfortable with cutting. However, in my car on the way to my therapy appointment, I got to thinking a little bit about what that does to the second half of Act 2, particularly with the flow. I've mentioned before that I have set up the sequence of events starting from around 55% all the way up through 70% pretty seamlessly in such a way that each event flows from one to the next and that these scenes cannot be rearranged or taken out of order. It's a perfect flow. And I'm pretty pleased with it. I feel like there's a great balance of action and like information. So I don't want to mess with that too much. What I was thinking earlier in my car was that by removing this one scene that is redundant and that was going to serve as the original midpoint is that it creates a little bit of a gap, right? Between the scene that I'm going to write tonight, in theory, if I ever stop talking, the scene where this big long chain of events actually starts. Because I don't think that they flow into each other very neatly. Not that the original scene flowed super neatly, but it felt at the time like it did. So now I'm thinking I need a buffer scene between this one I'm going to write tonight, which is ostensibly the midpoint, and the next moment, which kicks off this long chain of events that leads into the end of the book. So that was part one. And I had kind of resigned myself to doing a little bit of brainstorming. I really don't anticipate finishing the midpoint tonight, but later this week for sure. Then, as I was eating dinner and watching some basketball, thinky thoughts got going again. And that it has mostly to do with the construction of this first half of Act 1 that has been giving me a lot of problems ever since the first draft of the first draft outline, in that it's just, there's not a lot going on in it. So the crux of the issue is that I have been thinking of this moment that I'm currently in as the pinch point, in that it is a moment where the stakes are kind of raised and the protagonist gets a greater sense of what they're up against. And that definitely is this moment. But with the rolling back of the midpoint, it's not happening at the same time you would think that a pinch point would be. I Googled it and it's like a pinch point is at like halfway between like the decision and the midpoint, right? So around 37%. I am at like 45%, right? And then the very next scene is supposed to be the midpoint in this new thought process that I've been having today, right? So then that got me thinking, wait, is this actually the midpoint? Is this brush with the antagonist? Now, again, the antagonist does not actually appear in this scene. The team is just dealing with the aftermath of what the antagonist has done. But you get the idea. So is this brush with the antagonist, is that the midpoint? And if that's the case, can I make this next scene the bridge into the next sequence of events? But then the problem with that is that I'm really short on my word count for the first half. Because of the way that I've constructed the second half, it does flow together. And so there's not really a ton of stuff that I can cut. And then that got me thinking about all the things that I had already planned on cutting from the first act or from the first half in draft 3 to winnow down that word count. And then it put me right back to where I was a year and a half ago when I was working on this first draft outline of this first act is just not enough. There's just not enough to it. And for what it's worth, I don't know that I completely believe that, but I am getting concerned. I do have some concerns. There's really not much I can do about it right now. I definitely just need to plow forward and continue with the draft. And there is something to be said that maybe I'm just overthinking it and that maybe I'm adhering too closely to the rules. And I am aware of Save the Cat and I am aware of the general construction of how a Save the Cat outline goes. I don't adhere to all of the beats or the precise percentage points at which the beats happen. I'm not really into all that, but certain moments I think do intentionally or otherwise fall into that formula. And so I was trying to think of if this moment here is not precisely the pinch point, then what is? And there are things happening at that 37% mark, but I don't know that they're necessarily related to the antagonist. But then again, does it have to be? So these are just sort of the loop-de-loop of thoughts that I've been going through over the last couple of hours. Like I said, I'm not super thrilled about some of these revelations, but again, what am I going to do? I'm not going to stop writing the draft. I got to get through it. So that's kind of my plan. I'm just going to plow ahead and keep going because once I get into the second half, things are going to flow because while the context of a lot of this stuff has changed, the basic plot points and definitely the progression does not change. I'm gonna have to rewrite the entire fight scene, which is just great. I'm really excited about it. But apart from that, everything is going to flow once I hit like the 55% mark, I'm pretty sure. So I just got to get there. But I mean, it might be a good thing. Maybe I don't have to aim for 100,000 words for draft 3. Maybe I could shoot for 90. It really just depends on how I can flow, on how the second half goes. Because if the second half ends up being 70,000 words, I'm going to have to really rethink things. Because yeah, the final word count might be down, but the progression of like the plot is going to be weird. All right, that's enough yapping. It has been 10 whole minutes, which means I am now a full 20 minutes late to starting my sprints, which means I'm going to be going to bed even later than I did last night. So I'm going to stop yapping and I'm going to get to writing.
'Cause I know that two things can be true. 'Cause I get so confident yet confused, so I'll let go to live in between who I am and who I wanna be.
The more I think about it, the more I convince myself that the scene I just finished, that 4,000 word chapter, must be the midpoint. And while that does mean that draft 3 is going to have yet another major overhaul of Act 2, Part 1, I'm almost fine with it. Because it also means that the second draft is also going to be about 105,000 words. Tell me I'm wrong. You can't, because you don't know anything about what I'm talking about.
I do not understand. I know. Also, is there anything you'd like to say?
I'm indecisive, I don't know why. My good intentions fail me sometimes, but I don't get angry.
Hey y'all. Okay, so I have just finished the 48 and the 36-minute sprints of this descending ladder, and it's not going quite as well as it did yesterday, I'm not gonna lie. It took me a little bit to kind of figure out how I wanted to finish out this scene. So the 48-minute sprint was only 662 words. The 36-minute sprint did pick up. I got 534, which is pretty good, putting me over 1,000, but I'm kind of winding down. And my partner just told me that he's probably only gonna be up for another 20 minutes. So what I think I'm gonna do is instead cut the 24 and just do one 12-minute sprint. That'll put me pretty close to 11:30. The other issue is that I have finished out that scene that I was doing last night. And remember how I said, when did you even get in here? That it was only gonna be like another 500 words. So that was a lie. It was almost 1,000 more words. Yeah. So almost exactly 1,000 more words. So it's a 4,000 word scene. So I've finished that out. I'm on to the next one, but I do need to be thinking now about how I'm going to approach this plot point, because you just know how much I love your ass in my face. I just love some cat ass. I can't even remember what I was saying. While I was doing that sprint, I was, oh my gosh, so needy. I was thinking that maybe I could return to my original configuration of the outline and proceed with this debrief scene and then a kind of confrontation with the big boss after all. But I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure yet. I think I need to really mull over how I'm going to choreograph this scene, how she's going to approach her team and her partner in particular and her boss with this information or with this connection that she thinks she's made, and try to convince them that it's legitimate and it needs to be looked into, because it is a very personal connection. My goal is to have the team and like members of this organization kind of brush off her claim and be like, you are just saying this because you want us to look into this because you have a personal connection to this. And while that is true, and she will readily admit that that's true, she also thinks that the connection is legitimate to the current case. I just need to kind of figure out the actual like progression of how she's going to go about that, because like the way that this scene ended, she makes this connection, but they're still on the site of this magical disaster. Like, does she wait until they are back at headquarters, or does she approach someone right then and there? Who does she talk to first? You know, like I just have to kind of think that through. So I think I'm going to go for another 12 minutes and just kind of start this scene and leave it at that. I won't get the words necessary to stay on pace, but it is what it is. I got more than 1,000. I am planning on doing 2 sprint sessions tomorrow, It's 11 o'clock at night. What are you people doing? This is a residential area. I'm going to go to the coffee shop and attend Cody's live stream, and then I will come back and try and get some more done here. So I'm going to double up while the kids are with their dad. So all that to say, I'm hoping to make up some ground tomorrow. So if I don't get, not if, when I don't get the words necessary to stay on pace tonight, I'm not going to concern myself too much with it. All right, so that's it. I probably will not be checking in again tonight. So I just wanted to let you know that that's what's going on. Oh my God, because that also means that reveal, that connection that Arceli made when I was doing those mid-draft revisions, that's the pinch point. So maybe there isn't that much of an overhaul I would need to do. I would just need to bring forward the A plot a little bit more. I would just need to streamline some things and bring forward the A plot a little bit more. And if I wanted to get the draft down to 90,000 words, there are still areas I can cut in part 1. Part 2 remains to be seen. I mean, I guess, which means that I just need to stop stressing so much about this and just finish the damn draft. Yeah, I just need to finish the damn draft. Hello, good morning. It is now Tuesday morning. What are we thinking of the headband? I thought it was a little bit too casual for work, but I don't know. It's a holiday week. I can afford to be a little casual on a holiday week, right? Let me know what you think. I think it's cute. But also, I slept on it, and I just want to say that I do think that I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself in thinking about how what I'm writing now will all play out for the third draft. I don't need to be worried about that right now. I really don't. I need to finish this draft. That being said, I do think that the scene I finished last night, that big 4,000 word scene, which was, in my mind, originally the pinch point, is truly the midpoint. I think it makes more sense that way, which means that I'm halfway done with the book. I'm halfway done with the draft. I'm excited about that. But also, I'm sitting at like 53,000 words. What I think I'm going to do is shave off 15,000 words from my projected word count total back down to 105, which was, if you recall, my projected word count total for the first draft. Well, my revised projected total. Basically, I was like, oh, it's going to be 90,000. And then I was way wordier in the first half. And then it ended up, and then at the midpoint, I reassessed and came up with the number 105,000. And I ended up only 1,000 words over that, which I think is really, really, really good. So I already know that the back half of this book, I can write in roughly 50,000 words, 55,000 words since I did it last time. And not a ton of the second half is changing conceptually. Contextually, it's changing a lot. The scenes themselves are largely all staying in the same order and having the same reveals. So I think saying that the last half of this book is going to be 55,000 words is probably pretty accurate. So I get to revise my word count total, which will really help me out with how much I have to get done, not just in the grand scheme, but like on a daily basis. So I'm really excited about that. That's all I had to add from last night. I'm going to go inside, get my workday started. Hey y'all. It is now Tuesday evening, and I am just about to get started on my writing sprints for the evening. But before I did, I just wanted to talk a little bit about a really, really basic observation that I have about this challenge that I have set for myself, this new habit that I'm trying to form in doing these sprints on a daily basis. And that is that it is really fucking hard. It is really, really, really fucking hard. And first of all, that really isn't that much of a surprise, or at least it shouldn't be, given that it is kind of a big ask for someone coming essentially right off the couch and kind of a inconsistent, lackadaisical writing habit. And number two is that that's really my fault. I am the one who set this challenge for myself. Because when you think about your time in the evening, if you're sitting down on your couch at 8 o'clock at night, someone in my position might think, I have 3.5 hours before I need to go to bed. That is a lot of time. And it really, truly is a lot of time. It's a lot of time to do dishes or laundry. It's a lot of time to play video games if you want to. It's a lot of time to do writing. It's a lot of time to lay in bed and watch Dancing with the Stars. You know, it's a lot of time. But for me, these last couple of days, I've been sitting on my couch at 8 p.m. and going, okay, I have 1 hour before I need to sit down and work for 2.5 hours. And that sort of, at least for me has diminished the enjoyment of that hour or my ability to like make decisions about how to spend the hour. And as such, I'm not really spending it effectively. I'm not relaxing and I'm not being productive and I'm essentially getting nothing done and I'm not like feeling energized or relaxed. That being said, that in and of itself is not a reason to stop doing the sprints because genuinely this evening I've been like, I'm so tired. I can't stop yawning. I want to go to bed. It's been kind of a mentally strenuous week for reasons, and I really just want to go to bed. I want to go to bed really, 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 really bad right now. I was out there I was weighing the pros and cons of sitting down at my desk for 2.5 hours and writing or going to bed. When you think about it, really, what does writing have that bed doesn't? Bed is perfect. Bed is amazing. I'm looking at bed right now and it is luscious and gorgeous, but it is not the commitment that I made. And I was thinking about it. This isn't like a groundbreaking analogy, but I've heard it said before, I've made it myself before, and I still think it is accurate. Writing is like a muscle. A writing habit is like exercising. The first day you go to the gym, you might feel really awesome for doing it. And then the next day, you'll feel still pretty awesome, but a little less enthused. And then by the third day, you're like, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. I'm tired. It hurts. I would much rather spend my time on the couch watching TV and eating a industrial size bag of Reese's for dinner, which incidentally, I did do. I didn't eat the whole bag, obviously, but it was my dinner. I have not eaten anything except a can of Dr. Pepper and like 5 pieces of Reese's peanut butter cups. But I digress. I don't need your commentary on my bad decisions. We're here making good ones right now. That's all in the past. If you keep at it, if you keep exercising, your body adapts and your mind adapts. And I think I really need to get to that point where I have adapted. It may come to a point where 2.5 hours is really, truly too much. I will figure that out if I come to that. But for now, just being tired because of a regular ass workday is not enough of an excuse to get in the old bed. Of course, because of the commitment that I've made, but also I know that my mental health really relies on the dopamine I get from being productive. There's also that at work here. There is also the fact that when I have tried to form new habits in the past, I would be really, really enthusiastic about it for about 3 days. Maybe you're similar, but for me, it's usually 3 days. And then by the 4th or 5th, and especially by the 5th day, things start to really taper off. And here I am on the 3rd day, really struggling. And it was kind of that thought where I'm like, am I really going to give up on the 3rd day and not even make it to day 4? That kind of convinced me to come in here and get my computer and get started. That was just something I observed, like mentally pulling myself off the couch and coming in here and getting my laptop. It was some labor. It was some mental labor. But just like getting off the couch and putting on your running shoes and going for a jog on a day where you're really tired and you don't feel like it, it feels small, but it's still an achievement. And I'm going to feel good about it, even if I don't feel good about not being in bed right now. It is just about 9 o'clock, so I am going to get my heating pad, get a drink, and get settled in and wear this bad boy out. Y'all are never going to believe this, but I just thought of something else I'm going to change. It's not a big change, and it's not even right now. It's way later, but I'm going to change it. And it's going to help kind of it's going to help make Arceli feel a lot more active in this first part of the second half of Act 2, because I was feeling the way that the scene was coming is that she might feel a little defeated as a result of being shut down. And I was like, well, I could go with that and that'll help me pass time, because I have been thinking that not enough time is passing. And I was going to fix it in draft 3, but I was like, well, maybe I could use this like sort of defeated feeling to help pass time. But I quickly decided that that wasn't a good option. Like, this is the midpoint. She needs to, be more proactive in this second half. So instead, I'm going to just give her a little bit more proactiveness and activity. And instead of something that is revealed to her, she's going to go on the hunt for this information herself. And I think that'll really help with her agency and her what had started to kind of feel like a passivity forming as I'm working through this scene. So I say that, but like, it was just all mental. None of it's on the page yet. It was just like, okay, well, this is kind of how she would feel. No, that's how I would feel. Arceli would not feel defeated. She's going to feel defiant. And anyway, I just needed a moment to remember that. I had just started my second sprint, my 36-minute sprint. And if you're curious, we're 900 words in, so it's going okay. Not quite as well as the first night, but not as bad as last night. So all in all, pretty productive. So I'm going to get back to it. Okay, super quickly, because my battery is about to die. I only made it about halfway through my 24-minute sprint, but I am calling it here. I just hit a wall and I need to sleep and rest. I got 1637, so 1,637 words, about 400 words short of like my target to stay on pace. I'm not super worried about it. I did just want to talk about really, really quickly, like how important it was for me to sit down and do this, even if I am tapping out a little early, because the amount of ideas I've gotten and the way that I feel about going into the second half now is just so much stronger than this morning or even like 2 hours ago before I sat down. I'm feeling more connected to this draft than I have since the very beginning, the first couple of weeks of writing it. I have said this before, but if I hadn't pushed myself to sit down and do this, would I have come up with the same ideas tomorrow? I don't know. I'm really glad that I sat down and did do it, because what I've come up with, I feel really, really strongly about and will make the draft ultimately better. I'm going to add a whole chapter. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I got some ideas. I'm going to add a whole new chapter, which will help, because I do need to be adding a little bit to the second half. My outlines are always super thin in terms of like what I end up actually writing. And so anyway, so it was a really good session. I had some really good ideas. I've got some really good lines in here that I'm really excited to share with you guys. But for now, I am going to rest my brain and rest my body, and we'll get back to it tomorrow. So, and I mean, I would count this as a successful third day. I'm looking forward to having a successful fourth day too. I'll see you then. Hello, good morning. We're going to do this very quickly and very cautiously, because you are in a very precarious position balanced on a book on the armrest of my couch. Hello. It is Thursday morning, and yes, it is that Thursday morning, American Thanksgiving. And I'm just going to be upfront. I'm just going to come clean. I did not write yesterday. I got home early. They did cut us loose early from the office. And I came home and I was like, I am not going to take a nap. I don't want to take a nap because they're telling us we're having to work on Friday, which I'm very excited about. And so instead of having a long weekend, I'm having one day off back in the office and then a normal weekend. So I was like, I'm not going to waste my precious extra time off with a nap. What I intended to do was sit here and maybe watch some AuthorTube, maybe get a little bit of work done, maybe get a little bit of video games done. And then what happened was I started playing Pokemon Sword, because my son and I have been doing a replay of those games as we get ready for Christmas and his birthday, where he's getting a Switch 2 and he's going to play Legends EA. And I wanted to play a little bit of that. I was very close to the end. And then I fell asleep after like 30 minutes. I fell asleep here on the couch. And then I woke up after my unplanned for nap and got back on the game. And then I was like, I'm going to finish it tonight, because I was really close to the end. And then that took like 6 hours. And then it was like 10:30 and I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to bed now. I'm not mad, really. This is why I started the vlog on Sunday, because I knew that at least one of these next 4 or 5 days is going to be a non-writing day. I guess I used it up early. So that is what happened yesterday. It is now 9:11 a.m. Oh my God. Lucky I have quick reflexes, because you almost ate it. And I will try to get some writing done, because I didn't write yesterday and I really just don't see myself writing right now. I'm not a morning writer. I'm so sorry. I need to eat something. I need to put something on TV. I'm going to watch some AuthorTube. I'm going to do a little bit of cross stitching, and I'm going to be doing a lot of manifesting that my boss texts me, surprise, enjoy your weekend, sometime in the next 24 hours. I hope everyone has a really, really great holiday. Well, good evening, y'all. It is still Thursday evening, and I am back home. I got to spend the holiday with my family and had some delicious fried turkey, and my cousin made a version of Teeny's mac and cheese with just a couple of different cheeses, and it was phenomenal. Unfortunately, the bad news of all bad news is that I have to work tomorrow. For that reason, I am just pretending like it's any other Thursday for the purposes of getting some writing done, especially since I did not write yesterday. It is a little bit earlier than normal, though. It is 7:44. I am just getting started on my ladder sprints a little ahead of schedule because I am just exhausted. I am, in fact, an introvert, and social interaction wears me the fuck out, even though all I did was just sit around and yak and eat delicious food with my family. I am still pretty tired. So I am going to go ahead and just get my ladder sprint started early so I can go to bed. So that's pretty much it. Tomorrow I will have to work. I'm really excited about it. You can tell by my face that I'm really excited about it. And then I have to go to my mom's for round 2. We're going to fry our turkeys. I can't remember if I talked about this morning or not, but we're going to go to my mom's for round 2, do our fried turkey, and then come back and go about our weekend as normal. The other thing about writing tonight, even though it's a holiday, is I just don't want to spend more than 2 days away from the draft. I don't want to get that much distance from it. I was even just thinking just a little bit ago that I've already I feel like it's been a week and it's only been an extra day since I was last in it. I think it's important that I get into it. I am not going to yap for too much again. I am really tired and I have some brain fog because of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started on these sprints and we will talk shortly.
Can't face me, we can talk it out. No, we don't need to fight. I can get anxious, but I won't cry. You never know, cause I keep it inside. So I show up strong, maybe to a fault. Cause I know that two things can't be true. Cause I go from bossa to blues. So I'll grow to love in between who I am and who I wanna be. Oh, maybe I'm incomplete and a messed up masterpiece. Know everything and nothing, a childish 20-something with my pros and my cons, my mistakes and my flaws.
Fancy meeting you here. I am now post-completed ladder sprint, complete from start to finish. It is almost 10:45. And let me tell you about the journey I went on during this sprint, because it was kind of a lot. I have been having all kinds of ideas, as you probably know by now, about how to adapt this middle section of the book based on just some realizations I've had, some reconfiguring of some big reveals, and just realizing that I was getting really bogged down in this middle section. And I have gone all over the map with these. I have done a mid-draft revision to try and get myself back on track, which mostly worked. And then earlier this week, I was like, oh, I have to change the midpoint to this moment. This moment is actually the midpoint. What I thought was the pinch point is actually the midpoint. And then also I'm going to change just some stuff in Act 2, Part 2 as well to streamline that. It's been all over the place. I changed my projected word count down 10,000 words, all over the place. And I wish I could say today was different, but it was not. I have been all over the map yet again with how I'm going to get through this middle 15-20% of the book. I don't know. It just, I wrote a whole ass scene, most of one. In it, I revealed the existence of a thing that I was just going to have just be dropped in later on in a couple of chapters from now. I like it this way. It kind of foreshadows what is going to happen later. So I'm not really mad about that, but just the way that the whole scene shook out kind of helped firm up in my mind how I'm going to approach this next sequence. I can't remember what day it was. Obviously not yesterday. I didn't write yesterday, but the day before, maybe I talked about how Arceli is just going to be more proactive in searching out information in this portion than she was in the original draft and outline. I kind of vacillated between that new idea of how things are going to go and the old one as I was writing, because it was just playing out in a way that kind of had me all over the map. And then I realized something really important. And it is that I am having a tendency to write my main character as kind of a wilting flower, someone who would be chastised and then immediately back off. And that's really not who she is. And I can kind of see the logic behind that inclination. She is a person who's been thrust into this new world where she's not an outsider, but she does not even have like a baseline level of understanding that everyone else does. And yet they are turning to her for help. And so she's in this kind of weird like space where they need her and yet she knows nothing, like truly nothing. And so I can kind of see the inclination of when she does wrong or when she goes off the path and she's chastised for it, where she feel like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Especially since like something part of her arc is like longing for community and longing for to be around people like her, which she is now for the first time. But in this particular moment, when she was chastised and I was like feeling like, okay, she's going to back off, it occurred to me that that's really not how she would react. She would react with defiance. That is just like, that is her like defensive mechanism, because that's kind of like the relationship she had with her grandmother who raised her. So I kind of had to like be like, okay, Carrie Ann, that stop thinking with your own head, because that's how I would react in that situation, as I would back off. That's not how Arceli would react. Arceli would be like, okay, understood, and then keep doing what she was doing in the first place just to piss you off. That reaffirmed in my mind that the more active approach that I had thought up earlier this week is still the right way to go. And then I realized that I'm going to need a little bit of a longer sequence of events between this scene that I just wrote and the chain reaction that sets off everything towards the end of the book. As a result, I had to go back on what I said earlier this week and re-up my word count. I have decided that the pinch point scene that I redesignated as the midpoint isn't actually the midpoint. It is still kind of a pinch point, but this scene where she's chastised and she decides to go, okay, well, if that's how you're going to be, I'm going to do it even harder now kind of thing. That's the midpoint, which kind of goes back to like the original vision, where it's this debriefing scene that she's having where she does go from reacting to acting, being proactive. And so I've based my new word count projection for the end based off of that. And so now I am looking at 116,000. So not quite 110, not quite 120 either. We'll see. I'm in the middle of a scene right now, kind of towards the end. And then I'm probably going to have quite a long scene, maybe a whole chapter after this one to finish bridging that gap. And then I will be mostly back on track with the original outline. But again, the context for everything that's going to come after this is going to be completely different. So I don't know that a lot of words will be able to be borrowed from the original draft, even if like the shape and the kind of general purpose of the scenes are the same. Would you like to hear how much I wrote? Because it is actually a lot. I wrote a lot. I actually wrote even more than I did on Sunday. So my word counts for my sessions, my 48-minute sprint, I wrote 977 words. My 36-minute sprint, I wrote 655. And then during my break between the 36-minute and the 24-minute sprint, I got one of those brain waves where I'm like, I need to write down the next sentence before I lose it. And so I was back there in my recliner, not sitting at my desk, and I just got back into the draft on my phone and added like 2 more paragraphs. And so as a result, it looks inflated. I didn't write all of these words in 24 minutes, but it was 715. And then I really slowed down at the end with 179 for the 12-minute sprint for a grand total of 2,526 words in one completed ladder sprint. Oh my gosh, I am so tired and my throat hurts. I don't know what I was doing today that made this an issue, but my throat hurts. I have to work tomorrow, which I'm unhappy about. But by God, I sat down and I did the damn thing. I wrote some words. The other thing about changing the word count back up again is that my daily words needed to stay on pace are yanked back up again. I did exceed even by about 150 words that total. I'm now 23 days away, 24 days from my deadline. I have exactly half of the manuscript left to write. But like I said, I feel super, super, super strongly about the next scene I'm going to write. It's very clear in my head. And the scene after that, like the next 2 scenes after that, I feel really, really confident. 3 scenes. The one after that is one that I didn't feel really great about when I wrote it in the original draft. So I know that one's probably going to give me troubles. And then I have the fight scene, which is way different from the original, but is still, I imagine, going to completely kick my ass. So I'm plugging right along. I am looking at maybe 42 chapters if this all evens out as I hope it will. and an epilogue. And the epilogue, I'm like 99% sure is going to stay almost identical. I don't know what I was on when I finished the draft back in June, but that epilogue is fire. Sometimes I'll go back and read it again and be like, damn, I was so exhausted. How did I write something this good at the very end? You know, after I've been sitting in my recliner for 12 hours writing. And anyway, it's going swell. It was a ride today, but it went pretty well. And with that, I'm going to bed. Tomorrow I have to work, and then I'm going to go to my mother's and get my fried turkey, and then I will come home and we will see about doing some more of this shit. But until then, I'm going to be asleep. Hello, good morning. It is now Friday morning, and I am just about to start my work day. I have some more thoughts since we last spoke. Mostly that this big sequence that I talked about that I'm just gonna have to insert and it's gonna inflate my word count and everything. I am concerned that it's going to be cut in revisions, because basically what is happening is my main character went to the site of where the antagonist caused some chaos. She saw some evidence that made her think this is connected to my B plot. She took that evidence back to her bosses and they were like, nah, bitch, that's just you wanting it to be connected. We're not gonna really even investigate what you think is a connection. So her next step is to start digging into this on her own. I just need her to get the information that she needs to set up the next sequence of events from like 55% on. I don't think the way that I've thought about it, like the scene that I have planned for her to get that information, I think the way that I am planning on delivering it is going to be really wordy. It kind of flies in the face of some other plot points that I had developed, and I don't know, I'm just not in love with it. And again, the vehicle for how she gets the information is not as relevant as her getting the information. And so I think what I need to do is spend my day kind of brainstorming how I am going to deliver this information in a way that is not as wordy. Because here's the thing, my now target is 116,000 words. But I want to get that back down to as close to 100 as possible before I start cutting things like crutch words and stuff. So my end target, my final like query ready target, is between 90 and 100. That's my goal. And I'm writing this long draft to just get it out, because my first draft was super thin at 106, but still, anyway, and start like finding what is good and what is chaff, and I can, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna spend today thinking about whether or not I really need this sequence that I'm about to write, because if I don't, then I'm not gonna waste my time on it, kind of thing. So I'm gonna go start my lovely work day. Hey y'all, it's a car update, your favorite. Today is Sunday afternoon actually, and listen, I did my best to write yesterday. I really did. I sat down in the chair, I got a tall boy Dr. Pepper, which is like truly the best size. It's a 16-ounce can, and I highly recommend. I wish the CEO of Dr. Pepper would release them in like a 6-pack or a 12-pack so I can buy them in bulk and not just one off from the gas station. But anyway, I sat down, I started my timer, I was doing all of the things, and the words just were not coming. They were not coming. And I struggled at it for probably a good 40 minutes. I would pause the timer, I would go lay down in my chair to brainstorm, I would go back and forth, and nothing was working. Apparently I need gas too, so I'll do that while we're out and about. It was just not working. Nothing was working. It was not going well. It was a struggle. That was in the afternoon. I sat down at what, like 3:30, 3 o'clock. So I gave up on the afternoon session and was like, well, maybe it's just because it's in the afternoon and this is not like my mental writing time, and so it was harder for my brain to engage. I don't know. So I just sort of gave up on the afternoon session. Then I went back to my couch and I played some Pokemon. I, did some cross stitching. I just sort of hung out, and then I went to bed, and I did not write in the evening either. So that one was my fault. I kept intending to get up at 9 o'clock or 9:30, 10 o'clock to do writing. And then by the time 10:30 rolled around, I was just like, you know what, it's just not happening today. So I'm putting the blame largely on the fact that this whole weekend, this whole holiday long weekend has been just a little bit weird. Leaving work early Wednesday, having the day off Thursday, being expected to come in on Friday, and then being told we could leave early on Friday. Anyway, and all throughout that, I have not had the kids, which, as you know, provide essential structure for me. And so I was out of structure all week. So anyway, I'm just going to blame it on the fact that A, I didn't have the kids, and B, it was just a weird time. And you know, it's a holiday. You kind of like, whether you intend to or not, a lot of times you like mentally categorize these holidays as rest time, even though I did write on Thursday. So it was not totally successful. I wrote 62 words. So I am counting it towards my days written. As I said, it is now Sunday afternoon, and I just finished, it is 2:45. I finished at about 2:30, my paper, my big 5 to 7 page paper. It wasn't actually as bad as I was fearing. I did watch a lot of AuthorTube and do some cross stitching as I was writing, so it did take me like 4 hours. I knew the next thing that I wanted to get done was do some shopping. My son's birthday is on the 9th. And while most of his gifts are taken care of, there's just some other things. And then like my daughter really loves like weird graphic tees or weird t-shirts that are just really niche that you can find at the thrift store. You know your girl loves a thrift. So I'm headed to the thrift store right now first, just to see what I can see, pick up, you know, 3 or 5 t-shirts for her if I can find them. Then I'm going to run to Walmart and see if there's anything from there. I may stop by the bookstore as well. It's just kind of poking around, kind of Christmas shopping. Anyway, I'm just getting shit done. Also, I was editing the vlog this morning, and I've edited the first half hour of footage. Unfortunately, there's like an hour more of footage. Not even including, well, yesterday. I'm scrapping all of yesterday's footage because it didn't work out. Not even including anything from today. So this vlog, I'm either going to need to edit down further, or it's just going to end up being super long. I know my last several vlogs have been up in like the 40 and 50 minute range. This may go over an hour if I'm not careful. So I'm here at the thrift store. I'm going to go, as I said, do my little shopping for my daughter. I'm gonna look at some stuff for me because, you know, I can't resist. My plan is to do this and then do some other prep for the week. I gotta do some content planning. That's all. I'll check with y'all later, ostensibly when I have writing things. Hey y'all, I fear I am going to end this vlog in shame because it is now Sunday evening at just after 10 o'clock and I will not be writing today. Unfortunately, the time just got away from me after I finished my project. I went shopping. I was out for a few hours, actually. I marked some things off my list. I got my middle child largely taken care of. And then when I got home, my kids were back from their dad. I just missed them so much. It's always hard when they're gone for a holiday, especially like one of these where it's a really family oriented. And so I just hung out with them all night. As it got closer to 9 o'clock when they would be going to bed, I was like, oh shit, I forgot to finish the edits on Tuesday's video. And I thought that I just had to insert some clips, B-roll clips, and it turns out that I had way more to do than I thought. And so that took me all the way up until 10. And yes, theoretically I could do like a shortened version of the ladders. I just don't feel up to it. It's back to real life tomorrow. We've got a really busy week, starting with my daughter has chamber choir rehearsal, and then my other child has theater rehearsal, and then we've got solo recitals and doctor's appointments, and I've got what will hopefully be my last clinical trial appointment on Thursday. I'm hoping that they bounce me out of the study because I'm pretty much clear and I'm really tired of doing it. And then my son was like, oh yeah, I want you to do my birthday thing, which he's 15. It's literally just taking him and a couple friends to the arcade, but he wants me to do it, not his dad. So now I've got that on my plate for next weekend too. Anyway, it's just like the next couple of weeks, the next 2 weeks specifically, are just a frenzy. And they always are, just because my kids are in the performing arts and they always do these right before winter break. So anyway, I'm thinking about all that and I'm tired. The plus side is, again, I function much better when I have that structure. And so while yes, there is going to be a lot of activities that I'm going to be responsible for, I think that I'll function better in structure. I'm waiting for my laundry to be dry so I can hang it up. I did that earlier. As soon as it was done, I hung it up and it was like, it felt incredible. So I'm waiting for this last load to be done so I can hang it up and then I'm going to bed. It's been an interesting week. I did the ladder sprint 4 out of 7 days. So the majority, slim majority, but the majority. And I wrote a bunch of words. I have been all over the map on this midpoint. I am definitely to the point where I just want to get past it and into the part of the story that I feel really, really secure and solid in, which requires 1 or 2 scenes. So that will be for next week. I'm at 59,000 words. Fortunately, if I want to make my Finish Your Book Fall deadline, I have 3 weeks to write 60,000. Which is a big yikes. If I'm doubling my 10,000 word a week pace, that would be 2,000 words Monday through Friday, and then 5,000 words on Saturday and Sunday. But again, I've got recital on Tuesday, major clinical trial appointment on Thursday, my son's birthday celebration on Saturday. Not impossible. It is going to require the locking in of the century, but it's not impossible. I think these ladder sprints will really help by forcing me to sit down for 2 hours. I got 2,000 words, at least 2,000 words twice. I got like 1,600 words on one of the days where I was kind of abbreviated. I think I got like 1,900 words on the 4th day. 2,000 words with these ladder sprints is really achievable. The weekend is going to be interesting. It's been really interesting. It's been really, really, really interesting. I'm definitely already starting to think of it as the thing I do at night. And I think that's part of the reason I've been so resistant these last couple of days is because it's just those last like vestiges of, I don't want to say laziness because that's not the right word, but maybe it is, just clinging on and like, no, you should spend your evening hours on the couch on YouTube or playing a video game. You shouldn't go work. Blah. But I'm already starting to feel those wisps kind of die off. I've also really enjoyed being at my desk and being able to close my door. I've got this door hanger. I never even showed you guys my door hanger. I got this in a box. I can't even remember what box this is in, but it says writer at work. Okay, here's this side. It says writer at work, do not disturb. And this says writer at work, kind of, not really, just come in, so you can flip it. Anyway, I've been putting that on my door and like closing my door and putting that on. And the first night my partner was like, I didn't know if that was serious or not. And I was like, well, you can come in, but I am working in here. And so he was like, okay, well now I know. And so like, because our bathroom is out of commission, he doesn't even need to come in here for any reason, even to use the bathroom. So now he knows that when the door hanger is on, I am actually working. Anyway, so all that to say, it's been nice to have a space and a time. And I can feel how this habit will be a positive for me. I just need to get over that last little hump of wanting to use that time for leisure. What will help is by learning to maximize other hours for leisure. All right, I am done. I am done with this vlog, which will probably end up being like an hour and a half long. The raw footage, I didn't look at the total of raw footage, but it was probably over 2 hours worth of raw footage. I have yapped so much this week. I mean, it hasn't helped that there's just been so much like back and forth with this midpoint. Anyway, it's just been a lot of talking. A lot of my mug. So if you are still here, thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. If you like my content and want to support the channel, please like and subscribe or consider leaving a comment down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave me a ladder emoji in the comments. In my next video, I have not gotten that far ahead of myself with my content planning. I've got a couple ideas I'm kicking around, but whatever it is, I hope you look forward to it, and I will see you then. Bye.